Hello, America. Welcome back to our favorite analyst, news report, interpreter of everything you need to know about. It's us. Barry Nussbaum with ATP, Will Johnson with United America First. Back together again as usual. It's Thursday. Hey, Will.
How's it going, Barry?
We got a lot to talk about. The news.
No, it's been a really quiet news cycle. There's not much to talk about.
We could do this for 4 hours and not cover everything I read this morning. Holy cow.
Oh my goodness.
Let's start with my recent favorite dead terrorist and how, as you and I were talking about a few minutes ago, how the mainstream media seems to reinterpret life and cast it in a lens that has nothing to do with the truth. And obviously their agenda shows through. And what I'm referring to is Reuters, the international news distributor. They had a headline proclaiming that recently unlived head of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, who was assassinated in an airstrike. They called him, get this, a moderate. This is the guy that planned October 7th, danced and celebrated the deaths of untold Israelis of every persuasion, men, women, children, Jews, Druze, Muslims, Christians, and then, of course, the ones taken hostage that are still in the dungeons of Gaza nearly a year later. The Reuters obituary about Haniyeh called him tough talking and the moderate face of Hamas. The social media criticism that poured in was an avalanche. This guy is a mass murderer. He's been slaughtering Israelis for as long as we can remember. So what did they do? They changed the headline. No reason given. They changed it to, who was Ismail Haniyeh and why is his assassination a blow to Hamas? But the story still called him a moderate. How many people do you have to murder before you go from moderate to radical or moderate to mass murderer, which he was? It's obviously a rhetorical question because Reuters never gave an apology. And they did say later, this is Reuters, quote, often we refine headlines as a story develops for reasons including clarity and reflect additional reporting. There's no clarity needed. He was already dead. The biography was well known. The whole world knows it. Hamas is an internationally known murder organization, slaughtering their own people and everybody else that gets in their way, mostly Israelis. This is a guy who danced and celebrated the killing of 1,200 people and 250 hostages on October 7th. He said at the time, quote, we will lead intifada after intifada until we liberate Palestine. And then he said, the blood of children, women, and elderly in Gaza is necessary to arouse within us a persistence. The blood of the children, the women, and the elderly, we need this blood. So we'll ignite within us the spirit of revolution. So we will arouse within us persistence so that it will arouse within us defiance and advance. Oh my goodness. This is a moderate.
Yeah. You know, it's amazing how they write these stories and then they try to convince everyone that he was a good guy, Barry. He was a good guy. He was just a moderate. There's nothing really that bad about him. He might have some issues, but come on.
Yeah, he's just misunderstood.
Yeah.
He's actually he actually had given appearances on camera where he talked about the revolution conquering the world and slaughtering all the non-believers, which, by the way, includes you, my brother, because you have not accepted the true path to God. And most of the population of the world hasn't. That's a lot of people to kill.
Yeah.
But don't be confused. Ismail Haniyeh was a moderate. Reuters to this minute has not issued an apology.
Reuters reminds me of a lot of the other liberal media outlets. They write these stories about these monsters and they write them in a good light. Do you think that they're writing these stories in a good light so that they are not attacked, so that like their facility is not attacked? Like let's give this perception that we're on their side. I mean, what is that? You know who else is the same way? Associated Press.
Oh, AP is horrible.
Yeah,
Reuters,
yeah.
you make a really good point. AP and Reuters are the world's biggest distributor of news content to news.
Propaganda. I would say propaganda, personally.
I was about to use the same word. and here's the part to answer your question in specific. It seems to me, quite frankly, that Reuters and these other agencies, AP and so on, I don't see how they would be worried about somebody, shall we say, attacking them, because it's not like one office, like you could blow up the New York Times building, because it's in New York, or the Washington Post building in Washington. Reuters is all over the world, and they're famous for embedding reporters, unaffiliated reporters that took place, that took participation in the massacre that took place on October 7th. That's how they got the video. And then they said, well, it's not really our reporter and he's kind of independent, but here's the video. And that distributed all over the world. So no, to answer your question specifically, I think the answer is no. I think the reason is they just hate, and they are run by haters, and they distribute hate. Period.
Oh yeah, 100%. Can't argue that.
Speaking of hate, perfect segue. There's a lady, Nasrina Barghzi. She's an Afghani Muslim immigrant. She got into trouble with the FBI because she was putting out a lot of pro-terrorist statements.
And she got in trouble with the FBI?
They talked to her.
Okay.
So,
because that doesn't sound right. Because she doesn't sound like she's against abortion. She doesn't sound like, she's a school going to a school board. So I just want to make sure I understand here.
Yeah. So to clarify, ain't nothing happened to her. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's be clear. This is her.
That makes sense.
So you can take a look at her making a speech. The reason why we're talking about her, she went to law school at Berkeley, the hub of pro-American political views. And she said that she wanted to embark on a career of basically anti-American, anti-Israel sentiment. Okay. And she became a fellow, which means she's supported by the ACLU. And she started a movement to dismantle our national security defense against Islamic terrorism. She wore solidarity on the Today Show in solidarity with Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and other terrorists, ISIS terrorists that were imprisoned at Gitmo. On and on and on and on and on. She's got a history of attacking Jewish students, Jewish groups, hating on Israel. Why am I telling you about her? This woman. You ready?
Yeah, because I was wondering why you're telling me about her.
She works directly for Kamala Harris.
No.
She is one of the top 4 insiders.
What?
And the story is she's probably going to be the lead attorney for Kamala Harris should she be president of the United States.
What?
Look her up.
You know what, Barry?
Bargzie.
It really doesn't surprise me that the Harris Walls would.
I think you mispronounced.
It would not surprise me that they would bring someone like this into that position if given the opportunity. Barry, I've never been really too concerned about an election. I mean, I was concerned about the last couple, but this one is going to be the one that's going to make or break the country. And this one,
Are
she's
you
not.
are you hearing how radical she is?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. This is going
She
to be.
wore orange to support the terrorists that killed Americans at Gitmo. I'm in shock. I'm sorry. I can't process past that.
Yeah. Oh, that's my point. This is going to be the complete. Oh my goodness. And she's gonna be part of her cabinet. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, she's like that. She apparently, after Kamala dropped out a few years ago when she was destroyed in the debates by Tulsi Gabbard, where Kamala got 0 votes.
Yeah.
Dropped out before Iowa.
Yeah.
Kind of like, where have I heard that before? Oh, like 2024, where Kamala got 0 votes.
0. Never before
anointed by the elites. But don't kid yourself. The Democrat Party is the Democratic Party.
Yeah, there's nothing democratic about them.
So this is the woman. One last look at that pretty radical face. This is her not dressed in orange, because she is going to overthrow the vicious attacks on Islamic terror. In other words, Islam good, freedom bad.
Yeah.
Radicals in the Middle East good, freedom-loving patriots in the Americas bad. And she is the top advisor on the legal side to Kamala Harris. Look her up. You won't believe. The biography I've got here is 2 pages long. It's disgusting. I mean, she's talking about supporting Al-Qaeda, supporting ISIS, supporting the Taliban. Oh, boy.
Barry, it is highly disturbing. But all of the talk and the conversation about communism, this is going to be the pivoting moment for our country. It really is. And they're going to bring on so much. As we've discussed before, she's already mentioned that the first 100 days, if Congress doesn't act on disarming the American people, she's going to do an executive order to do it.
Yeah, so there's going to be a revolution if she pulls that stuff.
I mean, she already said that she's going to do it. I mean, so people are wanting this communism, which is just completely mind-blowing to me. And looked like Sergio in the comments really quick made a comment saying, Will, do you think that Trump will win? Do you? I don't like how the polls are looking. We kind of had that discussion before we got started. I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on. Correct?
Yeah. And not to worry.
Yeah.
Not to worry. We'll talk about
it. Yeah.
Interesting story out of Israel. The apartheid state Israel, where the Israelis don't care about Muslims and the army doesn't care about Muslims. Let me show you something incredible. This guy in the hospital a couple days ago, the guy on the right, his name is Farhan al-Qadi. He's an Israeli Bedouin from Rahat in southern Israel. He was held hostage since October 7th. Commandos rescued him from a tunnel. He is the first Israeli hostage rescued alive from the tunnels.
Wow.
He had a gunshot apparently in his leg. They operated on him without anesthetic. You can imagine how that felt.
Oh my goodness.
He was held in a hole in the dark for nearly a year, didn't see sunlight. And Israeli commandos found the tunnel he was in and got him out. Let me show you his arrival at the hospital when the helicopter landed with him. Well, that's not playing, is it? Let's see.
It was playing, but the picture was on top of it. Try it now.
Let's try it again. There's more. And everybody in these pictures that's not in uniform are Israeli citizens, all Muslim. Check out the inside of the hospital.
מגיע עכשיו אח שלך.
That's the hospital in Beersheba. I've been there. It's beautiful in the middle of the desert. Everybody you see running, those are his kids. He's got like 11 children. They were crying hysterically that their father, who they were sure was dead, had been returned to them by Israeli commandos. The prime minister and the president of Israel both called him and had long talks with him. He blessed Israel and insisted that the Israelis wipe out Hamas. This is a Muslim gentleman from a Muslim village. Everyone you see greeting the ambulance service, Magen David Adom. You may have heard that. Magen David, the Shield of David, right? That's the ambulance service that rescued him after the commando helicopter landed outside the helicopter landing pad at the hospital. I show this for two reasons. Israel is fighting ferociously to get the hostages back. Men, women, children, Jews, Druze, Muslims, Christians, it doesn't matter. They're bringing everybody home eventually. And for all those people that say Israel's an apartheid state, check out this happy family. That's him in the hospital with his brother. And they said it's like he's been reborn to the family because they've been mourning his death for a year.
Wow.
They thought he would get out alive.
And he's Muslim.
He's Muslim. Yeah. All of those people in that video are Muslim.
Why is the mainstream government state media not talking about this story, Barry?
The Israeli media is, but that's about it.
Why? But I'm talking about the Communist News Network, MSDNC, CBS, ABC, NBC, the entire Alphabet Network Soup Group, Reuters, Associated Press, NPR, PBS. They should all be talking about this.
It ruins the Israel is a apartheid state narrative, Dumbo. That's why. The truth screws up the story. Right? I mean, is there another explanation? This is
I like the Dumbo part. I like the Dumbo part. That's exactly what it is. They should be talking about this story.
There's also a sad part. There's an older gentleman that was kept with him that they killed in front of this guy who was Jewish. His body has not been recovered. Remember, the Israelis, because of the admonitions in the Bible, every body must be brought home to be buried, under religious law. The soul has to be put to rest. So they fight like crazy to get the dead bodies out. Unfortunately, from the tunnels until yesterday or the day before, they've only recovered one alive hostage, this gentleman. And he is a national hero. He's on the front page of every Israeli newspaper. He's the lead story on all the Israeli networks. He must have thanked Bibi Netanyahu in tears a dozen times for rescuing him, calling him the great leader of all the people of Israel. Wow. That's pretty amazing. And he's a Muslim from a Muslim village.
I mean, just absolutely wow.
Yep. Apartheid, though, right?
Yeah.
So here's a great story for you. Tim Walz, you remember him, the regular guy from next door.
Yeah, the moderate guy right down the middle.
Yep, that's him.
Nothing weird about him.
They
Doesn't know any seasoning other than pepper.
That's it. He attended, according to the Washington Times, they've just broken the story, Washington Examiner, sorry, a march to abolish ICE a couple years ago. He said that when he was running for the job of governor of Minnesota, he sort of moderated it and he goes, well, I don't want to totally abolish immigration enforcement, but ICE has to go. And as far as he's concerned, his response was he made Minnesota a sanctuary state, and he refused to let the attorneys and law enforcement in the state of Minnesota cooperate with federal immigration officials because he declared the state a sanctuary for everybody, which is a haven for criminals. Then he signed legislation providing all illegals with driver's licenses, free college tuition, and free health care. And people say he's not a communist?
I mean, that's why him and, I kind of look, not to be disrespectful or anything, but, I refer to the two of them as the Wicked Witch and the Warlock. Because it's kind of fitting, but communism, that's on the menu. It's on the menu. And he brought in all of this stuff. I forget who said it, because, he never actually seen war. So he wanted to have war in his city just so he can experience it. And that's pretty much what was happening. And, remember Kamala Harris, she also said that ICE was the new KKK.
That's right.
So for him to say this about ICE, they're made for each other. It's a match made in hell.
Well,
not heaven, of course.
I get it. And the more we talk about these stories, the more shocking they are. I think it's incumbent upon the campaign that opposes their election to get the truth out. Yeah. How many people believe? I'm talking about regular Americans, not left-wing crazy people running, let's say, Minnesota. How many people in America would you say are in favor of no borders? Everybody comes in and everybody gets free everything. Not wait a minute, not the Americans, not the veterans, not America's poor. I mean the foreigners. Free college, free medical care, free driver's licenses, and if you live in California, free mortgages. What percentage of Americans do you think that pay taxes, are in favor of that?
All of them.
Regular Americans, or you're talking about?
Now, if we're talking about Americans, are we talking about illegals?
No,
I'm sorry, undocumented.
I'm talking about regular Americans. How many people want their tax dollars going to this instead of Americans?
Are we talking about conservatives or liberals? I can narrow it down.
I don't even differentiate.
Well, let me say that
because I've asked liberals, and
they don't want it.
They don't want it either.
They don't. Yeah, you're right. They don't want it either. You know what the problem is, Barry?
What's that?
TDS. TDS is such a major problem. They know what they're doing by bringing all of these people in, giving them now in California, for example, $150,000 towards a home. Kamala Harris said she wanted to do $25,000. Oregon said they wanted to do $30,000. And California just said, look, we're going to go way above and beyond. We're going to do $150,000. And guess who has to pay for it? You, the taxpayer.
Us, baby.
Yes, you, the taxpayer.
So no one wants it. Our money was going overseas. Now it's exactly just the illegal guy next door.
Yes. So no one wants it. But when it comes to those on the left, TDS kicks in. Barry, it is such a problem with TDS. They're openly, willingly to allow the country to burn because of TD, as long as it's not Trump. let me give you an example here.
All
They
right.
knew something was wrong with Joe Biden. We all knew something was wrong with him, and it just didn't happen last week, last month, last year. We knew something was wrong back in 2019 with Joe Biden. They knew something was wrong with Joe Biden. Just like right now, none of them are saying that Kamala Harris needs to go out and do an interview. None of them are saying that because you know why? They know something's wrong with her. They know something's wrong with her.
So
And as a
you're telling me
result,
you're telling me that the disease,
the TDS.
TDS disease, right, is so bad that anything but Trump is okay. Any policy by Trump is okay. Bankrupting the country is okay, right?
Yeah. Having ISIS members come into the country. Okay. TDS is a real thing. And then the more insane this stuff gets, the more it presents itself. I went out to downtown Austin and I was asking a couple people, do they, Trump or Kamala? And one guy said, "Oh, Kamala, just Trump bad. And I said, "Well, if you had to choose between two people here, right? If you had a choice between President Trump or the Antichrist, who would you go with?" Who do you think they said, Barry?
I
Just one guess.
if it's really insane, they'd say the Antichrist.
And they did say the Antichrist. TDS is a real thing. I mean, we can say, they were like, okay, you're just saying it all day long. No, they're okay with the country burning as long as it's not with Trump. They're willing to burn the country down. This is how bad it is. That's what I'm saying. I can't even stress it enough. I don't think we actually understand the position we are in this country. You just mentioned it earlier. She's there with 0 votes. I mean, nada, 0 zip. Not a single person in this country, not a one voted for, not a one. So much for democracy.
Unbelievable.
Not a one.
You're going to love this story. There's a social justice warrior group led by this lady. If I can get her picture up, there she is. Her name is Joyce Ajloni. Lowney, maybe.
I was saying Looney for Looney Bins.
Well, when you hear the story, you'll probably change your name. She's the General Secretary of the American Friends Service Committee. She had 3 meetings with the Biden's administration in the White House this year. And she and her fellow religious leaders met with Biden's people from the National Security Council, the Domestic Policy Council, the Office of Public Engagement to demand an end to the genocide in Gaza. And she wants a immediate and permanent ceasefire. And the Biden administration must force that on Israel.
Is she part of that Code Pink?
No. She
She's
comes
not
out
even part of the Code Pink.
She has the same idea because she said that the demonization of Hamas must end.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
Where did they get these people from?
I don't know. She, during the George Floyd riots, she led the Defund the Police organization in Minnesota. She wants money invested in schools, healthcare, and in transformative justice instead of funding the police. And she goes on and on and on about how the great news from the Black Lives Matter movement is defunding the police. She wants to abolish ICE, and she's raised tons of money from, get this, the Chan Zuckerberg initiative. That's Mr. and Mrs. Zuckerberg that own Facebook and Instagram, and the Rockefeller Brothers Fund. And she's violently anti-Israel. And if she gets her way,
don't tell me she's going to be in the Harris.
Well, we don't know yet, but she was there over and over and over again, and they kept giving her time and meetings in the White House.
Wow. So she had more meetings with them than they had cabinet meetings.
Apparently so. More times than you were there. Certainly more times than I was there during this administration.
Oh my goodness. Because they only had like one cabinet meeting in 6 months.
Well, then she was there more than that.
Yeah.
So I just want to go over her agenda. Stop demonizing Hamas. Got that? The terror group that slaughters people
right
in and outside of Gaza, that has all the tunnels with all the booby traps and all the hostages and killed everybody that they killed, both Christians and Jews, men and women, inside Gaza and outside Gaza. Stop demonizing them. Immediate ceasefire. Pour in the humanitarian aid. Israel sucks. And locally, defund the police, shut down ICE, take all that money and dump it into schools. Meeting after meeting after meeting with the top officials inside the White House. Does that scare you?
No, because I've as much as you and I have been having this conversation about Israel and the United States of America, I've always said that you can't trust Joe and the Democrats when it comes to Israel. I've been saying that from day one. Even when they came out trying to act like they're in support of Israel, what did I say, Barry? It's a lie. And every single time they prove me correct. I wish they would stop doing that, but they prove me correct every single time.
You just want to be wrong once?
Seriously, prove me wrong. I don't have no issues with it. But you can just see the writing on the wall, right? I mean, these people, they're Kamala Harris, she's not for Israel. And then you got these people out there protesting against her, free Palestine. Really?
You saw her number one attorney, right? Was defending the ISIS Taliban people in Gitmo.
Yeah. So why are they protesting against her? It's a facade. It's to put out a perception that she is for Israel. Why? Because not only does she want to deceive the Israeli people, the Jewish people here in America, so they can keep funding her. She wants to deceive the American people here, these stupid idiots, thinking that they, Israel, well, I'm gonna go with her, support her. But in the background, they have all these people that are protesting supposedly against her, free Palestine, and then she comes out and says Israel need to protect themselves. But then in the same breath, she says that we need to stop Israel from doing what they're doing. I mean, it's how people are easily manipulated, Barry. They don't even realize that they're being coerced in this whole psyop that we're seeing.
That's why you and I are here to bring the truth. Listen to this story. American and French foreign ministers had a meeting with the Palestinian representatives, trying to expedite a peace agreement with Hamas. But it's very curious what they did. I'm going to call your attention to it. These are the guys walking into the meeting, okay? That's the Israeli foreign minister in the middle. And on the left is Stephanie Séjourné, I think. On the right, he's the French foreign minister. And David Lammy on the left is the British foreign minister. And if you notice and look closely, if I can make it bigger, let's see if I can't blow it up. There's a yellow pin on their lapels.
I can see it.
Yeah, and that yellow pin it's a hostage pin, to remind everyone that there are hostages being held underground: British hostages, French hostages, American hostages, Israeli hostages, Muslims, Christians, and Jews being held, some in cages at one time. At least 100, we think, are still alive. After the meeting with Israel Foreign Minister Israel Katz, they took off the yellow pins when they went in and met with the Palestinian representatives, because they didn't want to offend Palestinians by calling for the release of the hostages.
Oh, wow. It sounds like straight up Democrats here in America.
A lot of people called the attention to the 1930s, where people were meeting with Nazis and didn't want to offend the Nazis. So they didn't say anything or show anything that Nazi propaganda or policies were bad, even though they knew people were being slaughtered. This appeasement is absolutely disgusting.
Wow.
And they're showing they had no care for the American hostages that I think there's still 9 of them in the holes. It's profoundly astounding. In other words, they walk into a meeting with the Palestinian representatives thinking, well, I don't want to offend the guys because they're pro-hostages and we're anti-hostages, so let's take off our pins.
Oh my goodness. So, oh my goodness, Barry.
Now, to show you the difference, this is my hostage dog tag that I wear 24/7. And there's your hostage dog tag.
Yep, I keep it right here. So every time I turn this microphone on, everyone sees it every single day.
It's no different than people flying the POW flag when there were Americans in Vietnam, held in the hellacious prisons. And until they all came home, the flags didn't come down until they were all accounted for. This is despicable that for some reason, this isn't important anymore. Ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire. A ceasefire would be literally done in 5 seconds if they release the hostages.
But they don't want to because they see them as leverage.
Of course.
They see them as a reason for Israel not to go in and just go ahead and eliminate these monsters altogether. It's just pure evil, Barry.
But you see, I guess the point is not how evil Hamas is. We know that. It's not how evil the Palestinian Authority is, who, according to all the polling that they do, the overwhelming population in Judea and Samaria among the Palestinians support Hamas, and they celebrate October 7th. They celebrate October 7th. It was just announced today that at the University of Maryland, they're in school now. They've just gotten a permit from the university to have a October 7th party celebrating the massacre on the college campus, and the college campus gave the permit this morning. That's an American university paid for by American tax dollars, celebrating the deaths of Americans and the hostage taking and the hostage keeping of American citizens.
So does that mean that we're going to start seeing in these protests again start popping up on these, because school's back in?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I would imagine that the Biden regime and the Democrats would say, you know what, y'all can do this, but y'all need to wait until after November.
Well, apparently they haven't, dude, because Maryland just announced it. Literally just announced it.
Wow.
Is that amazing?
Wow.
I know. It's, to me, very discouraging. So my hostage dog tag stays on until they all come home and they're all accounted for. And anyone that says take it off isn't going to get a good reception from me. And God bless you for having it as well. Truly. Let's go back to Tim Walz, your favorite vice president almost. This is an amazing story. Hi, Kitty. What's his name?
In the way right now.
Well, he's cute and he looks healthy. This is weird. When Tim Walz was running for Congress in 2006 in Minnesota, he put out a biography. Okay. You remember Tim Walz, this guy. He put out his biography, and
the war veteran.
That was part of
the combat war veteran.
He said that in 1993 he was named the outstanding young Nebraskan by the Nebraska Chamber of Commerce for his service in education, military, and small business communities. You know, that's a nice award. And if I got an award like that, I'd be proud of it too. except for one problem. It's a complete lie. He made it up. And it's still in his biography. It's never been taken out. Check this out. This is amazing. If you look at his campaign website in the archive version, it's still there. Now, going back in time, the president of the state of Nebraska Chamber of Commerce wrote a letter to Mr. Walz and said, "It has come to my attention that as part of your campaign for U.S. Congress, you have posted your biography on your website that claims you received an award from the Nebraska Chamber of Commerce for your service to the business community. We researched this matter and can confirm you have not been the recipient of any award from the Nebraska Chamber of Commerce." And then Mr. Kennedy, the president of the whole state Chamber of Commerce, asked that Walz remove the reference from the website and said that the chamber was endorsing Tim Walz's opponent over Tim Walz. So not only do they not like him, they didn't want him to be elected, and they called him a liar in the letter. If you don't believe me, here's the letter.
Wow.
And you can look this up. It's a very long letter, and it basically says, you didn't get any such award. Stop using our name. We don't know why you're doing it. Take it down immediately. Wow.
Wow is right.
Now, you can say, well, it's not that big a deal. It might be a mistake.
No, it is a big deal.
It shows the guy's a liar. And if you're willing to lie about something that's kind of, innocuous like this, what else are you lying about? Well, his military service, where on his biography, it says he retired as a command sergeant major. And he didn't retire as a command sergeant major because he didn't complete the requirements to be a command sergeant major, right? And then he talked about how lucky he was to get his children conceived by in vitro fertilization. He talked about that at the convention, and that was a lie. They did it through fertility treatments. So he went on and on and on about how he sort of hedges the truth, right? He talks about how he'd been picked by Harvard to go to China and teach there, right? That's not exactly the way it happened. I don't understand how he has come up with these accolades on his resume, and not very many people outside of you and me are talking about it. He's Mr. America. They're calling him coach, and he's going to be doing the CNN interview to make it okay for Kamala to have her security blanket or whatever you call them there, right?
Emotional support dog, animal.
Yeah, emotional support candidate, right? I mean, how weird is
Barry,
that?
They are a match made in hell. Seriously. There's another thing that's starting to come to the surface, because their whole thing is a lie. Everything is a lie. Saying that the people voted for her, that is a lie. Her being the border czar, now they're saying that she was never the border czar. A lie. There's documentation showing it. Everything about them is a lie. And then Barry, this is the new thing, and people are researching it right now to find out if it's actually true or not. You know how she's been saying that she worked at McDonald's to work her way through college?
Oh, yeah.
They're coming to find out that she never worked at McDonald's.
Well, she mentions that all the time.
She mentioned, yeah. And so people that, of course, if you're going to say something, people are going to go research it. So now they're researching it, and they're finding out so far that she's never worked there. And then the campaign changed their stance on it, saying, well, she only worked there a little bit to make some extra money. So now they're changing the story about it. So as of right now, it looks like that she never worked there. And they brought up the fact that when Obama, I didn't know this, Obama, when he was running, he said that he worked at like Baskin Robbins or something like that, some ice cream shop. And they actually showed pictures of him there. They actually showed actual employment of him being there. There's no evidence, zero, kind of like the votes she received. There's zero evidence of her ever working there. And she tells this story trying to make it look like she's just a normal person. She struggled. She knows what it's like. And it's all a lie. Everything about them is a complete lie. Tim Walz lie. She's a lie.
Let me ask you a question in a remote sort of way. It seems to me, as a voter, that if somebody is caught lying and they want us to trust them, right?
Become a politician.
Does it bother you as a voter that someone's lying to you in their speeches or in their campaign materials or on their websites, because it's indicative of the possibility that they may lie about really important things? Or does this stuff just get blown away with people's attitude being something to the effect of, well, it's not really that important, but I'm really loving the joy thing. You know what I mean? And don't confuse the joy with misrepresenting or forgetting that you really didn't win Nebraska Chamber of Commerce Man of the Year, or you really didn't retire with that rank.
Yeah.
Or you bailed out before your unit went to Afghanistan.
You know what?
Okay.
Why even lie about that? Don't even say anything about it. Why make it up? The reason why they're making it up is because they want this perception. They want people, they want to have this facade. We have to look a certain way, for the season.
But hold it. The question is, once the lie is known, okay, like
TDS, short answer, TDS.
But should it change people's opinions, voters?
It should, but those that are suffering from TDS is not going to. They can care.
It just bounces off.
Oh, absolutely. There was an interview with Bill Maher and Quentin Tarantino, and I don't know if you've seen it.
I have not.
And Quentin Tarantino says he could care less what she says. She could say the most horrible things, blah, 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 whatever. He's still voting for her. So it doesn't matter because they're talking about her not doing the interviews. So they will still vote for these people regardless of what she does. She can come out there and say that she's going to lock up every single Jewish and Christian person in the United States of America, and even anyone MAGA that went against her. Is going to shut down every single conservative media outlet. She doesn't care. They would join her in this. We are at the stage of our nation where we are going to see full-on communism get full gear. She's already mentioned, I mentioned it earlier, she's already saying that if Congress doesn't act within the first 100 days, she's going to disarm, do a mandatory buyback. And I don't know a single person in this country that's ever bought a weapon from the federal government. How's it going to be mandatory? We're seeing full-on communism, and they're lying their way to it, just like a good communist. Just like a good communist. We're going to bring prosperity. We're going to bring everything that you need. You won't have to worry about it. We're going to make food affordable for you. We're going to make housing affordable for you. We're going to make education affordable for everybody. Everybody gets it. It's like Oprah Winfrey show. You get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car. But they're going to do it with the entire country, except for if you're an American citizen, nothing for you. Zero for you. It only goes to the people that are undocumented. But if you pay taxes, we're going to penalize you for paying those taxes. TDS is a real thing. They
Well,
don't care, Barry. They do
that,
not
that, was,
care.
that was a sad speech.
They do not care.
I don't like your speech at all. All right, wait till you hear this story. There's this little old lady in Colorado named Sonia Imashi. She's older and she lives in a retirement home. She's been retired for 21 years. I mean, she's really an old lady. She was giving donations of $25 a month to a Democrat fundraising organization, but she couldn't afford it. So she started giving less and she lowered it to $15 a month. And then that was too much. And she lowered it to $10 a month. You get the idea of the amount of money, right? And this was going to the monster Democrat organization called Act Blue. And then Act Blue sends the money to Democrat candidates and it's untraceable. So O'Keefe Media Group, that's the guy that used to run Project Veritas. He's on his own now.
Right.
Did some investigation into Act Blue and went to this lady, Sonia, and said, you've been giving $10 a month and $15 a month to Act Blue? Yes. And that's always what you give? Well, I gave $25, but I'm down to 10 now because that's all I can afford. And then she was asked, Act Blue reported you in their federal filings that you've given a total of $230,000 to Act Blue. And she goes, well, I'm only giving $10 a month. Let me show you the lady. And $10 a month, right? And she says, and the question was, is your money being stolen from you? And she goes, no, my money's not being stolen. There's nothing there to steal. She doesn't have any money. But what they're doing, apparently, according to O'Keefe Media Group, is using actual donors' names and then funneling dark money through somebody else's name. So you never know where the money's coming from, i.e. overseas, right? Mysterious organizations that don't want their names disclosed, which is federal law. That little old lady I just showed you at $10 a month, that's $120 a year, Will.
Yeah.
She's never seen 50,000, let alone 100,000, let alone 230,000 in after-tax money to give to Act Blue. Does that make sense? And
so, my question is the IRS, right? Because the IRS, they come after every single nickel and dime. And when Act Blue is they're using these people's names for these donations, and the people are not actually doing it, but it's showing up in their name. When you donate to a nonprofit, you're supposed to be able to write that off on your taxes.
Yeah, wait a minute, hold it. That doesn't count. A political donation is never.
You can't write that off.
No, because it's not a 501c3 or C4 under the IRS designations. You have to be a designated charity. Act Blue is a lobby group that elects people.
Oh, so they can just take however much money from the individuals and then they can launder it to the Democrats however they see fit.
Yeah, and so Act Blue was confronted about this, and they said, quote, Republicans simply cannot accept that millions of Democrats are energized and engaged in the political process.
Wow.
So they're lying, I guess.
No, they're lying.
Because this little lady that gives $10 a month that has no other money did not give $230,000. And according to O'Keefe Media Group, they're finding lots and lots and lots of these retirees being credited with hundreds of donations, mounting into hundreds of thousands of dollars, not having any idea where the money came from.
Yeah.
Because they've never had, she had to cut from 15 down to 10 a month because that's all she could afford.
Yeah.
because she lives in a retirement home and she's been retired for 21 years.
I wonder how she feels about this happening with her name.
She barely understands it. I saw the video. She
You know,
barely understands. Well, I give $10 every month. I don't think I gave 230,000. And she's a very nice old lady. She doesn't
well,
have
I
any
mean,
she has no idea.
TDS doesn't care about your age. That's the only reason why people donate to Act Blue, because of TDS.
I guess
That's
so.
the only reason.
Okay. It's upsetting to me that they're getting away with it. It really is upsetting to me. Check this out.
It's money laundering.
Clearly, they're covering up where the money's coming from. That's for sure.
Yeah, money laundering. Yeah.
We talked about this before we came on the air. Mark Zuckerberg, who through Meta controls Facebook and Instagram, apparently has had a change of heart and feels bad about suppressing conservative voices and COVID-19 content and the Biden laptop and everything else he was directed to do, and has written a letter saying the government told him to do it. Now, I got 3 questions for you. One, is Facebook going to change? 2, this is a big one, is the Biden-Harris administration going to stop telling social media what they can and can't publish? And number 3, are there going to be any consequences, Will? This is election interference on a scale unimagined before social media.
Yeah. So
3 questions.
Your first question, are they going to stop?
Yep.
No, they're not going to stop. They're going to continue. Just because he had a change of heart doesn't mean the people inside the company had a change of heart. They're going to continue doing it. The second one, I believe, is but the government, right? Is the government going to stop
pressuring them?
Stop pressuring them. The answer to that is no. And they're being very manipulative the way they're doing it, saying, well, we've got to stop disinformation. That's our only purpose. We got to stop disinformation, people putting out something that could be harmful to others. We got to stop it. We're here to tell you to, stop preventing this information, like the Hunter Biden laptop being spread because it's Russian disinformation. And when it's not, the government is not there, Barry, to tell us what is factual and what's not factual. The government is there to make sure that we, the people, can go stand on the corner and tell everybody there's a UFO flying in the sky. That is their job. Right? That's their job, not to tell us what to believe or what not to believe. It's so irritating to me. And then the fourth one, the Biden-Harris administration, the third one.
Is there going to be consequences for what they did?
That's what I was getting ready to. Is there going to be consequences? No. There's not going to be any consequences. He did the letter. He sent the letter to Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan said this is a win for free speech, but that's all it is. It's a win for free speech. But guess what? It stops at the comment. It doesn't go any further than that. Now, 2 things are going to happen here. One, we become a full-on communist nation, and then free speech goes away because of her executive order, when she does the Second Amendment, is going to go away. The Constitution is going to be shredded. 100%. She's already put it out there. If you're gonna do away with the Second Amendment, you're going to do away with the Constitution. The second one is that President Trump wins. And I think that's part of the reason why Mark Zuckerberg did this letter, because he sees the direction the country is going. He sees that the American people are sick and tired of what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris has done to the country. People are going to go with President Trump. And he has access to analytics that we don't have. So he's looking at it on Facebook, on Meta. See, a lot of people didn't think about that. He has access to data that he's like, oh my goodness, this is like never seen before. Barry, I've been collecting videos specifically on Black people, and it's almost 4 hours long of Black people showing support of President Trump. Never heard of before. I've never seen anything like it. Never seen anything like it. This is just what I'm seeing. So he's seeing something else. So I think he wrote the letter because he see President Trump coming back and he's like, well, let me try to get in good graces now. Because when President Trump goes back in, they remove the sitting president of the United States of America, Barry. They silence him. And it was on the direct orders of the FBI.
Whew. Last story. Georgia, the election board in Georgia has taken a big step towards freedom in the next election. And they have a new rule that requires each county in Georgia to ensure the accuracy of voting before they certify it. In other words, check the ballots, make sure that everyone who voted is on the voter rolls, make sure they should have been on the voter rolls, verifying, and then certify the election. This story I'm going to tell you now is absolutely unbelievable. Do you know what this is that I'm putting on the screen now? This is a lawsuit suing the state election board in Georgia. It's filed by the Democrat National Committee.
Oh, isn't that convenient?
And the Democrat Party of Georgia, along with some of their members.
This document should be thrown out immediately. And you know why? Because they say Democratic. There is absolutely nothing Democratic, but they are the Democrat Party. They're not Democratic. Nothing about them is Democratic. Sorry. I just want to make sure that's clear. It's so irritating that they do that.
Good rant. I'm not going to argue with it. But the key thing, they are fighting for an injunction to overturn this law because they think it's going to interfere with election results. Are you kidding me?
Wait, you saw what
they are so transparent.
Oh, yeah.
The law says verify who voted.
They don't want to do that. Nope.
And the Democrats in Georgia and the National Democrat Party said no.
Why would they not want to verify it, Barry? We know the answer.
Election honest, Will Johnson.
Yes. You saw what they just did in California. I'm pretty sure you saw what they just did in California.
What are you referring to?
So Huntington Beach just passed a law in their district saying that you have to have ID in order to register to vote and to vote. Well, the state of California, they just did a bill saying that voter ID means voter suppression. No voter ID at all. Why would they do that? Oh, well, anybody can vote. And it's the Democrat Party. I mean, it's like, and also, Barry, here in the state of Texas, where I am, down the street, San Antonio, Governor Abbott and Ken Paxton, they just found out that there was 1 million ballots that were illegal. Half of them were dead people, and the other one were registered people, undocumented people. Should have never been registered in the first place. And guess what?
I know they cleaned the voter rolls. How do dead people vote?
By mail-in ballot.
It's
funny, but not funny.
Cemetery.
Right? Funny, not funny. And guess what? The Democrats in the state of Texas are so upset about this that they removed dead people from the register roll, right? They're so upset about it, Barry. They have asked the DOJ to come in and investigate Ken Paxton. You can't make it up. You can't make it up. I've said this before, Barry. Our society is sick.
Oh.
Our society is sick.
We're going to leave it at that. We're out of time. We got a lot. We covered a lot today, my friend. Great show. I will see you next Thursday. Same bat time, same bat channel. Don't forget to come in and be with us next week. FindBarry.com if you want to be on the mailing list. United America First, you want to be on his mailing list. We're both for free. I strongly suggest you sign up so you never miss anything we are talking about. Bye for now, y'all.